Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city and Also Asked is the only tool to access live People Also Asked data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
Hello, everybody. I love it when people say he founded KRM Digital like it's a massive agency. It's just me. So far, you never know, we might grow. Yes, Google Tag Manager tips that will elevate your analytics game. If anybody's wondering, I did not use AI, even though it says elevate in that word, in that sentence there. I use it all the time. So, who am I? Well, I am me because I seemingly am wearing the same outfit as this photo. So I made the mistake in 2020 of reading an email from Google that said GA4 is going to become the default analytics property from now on, and I thought, oh, this looks like something interesting I should get stuck into. 5 years later, I'm probably still regretting that a little bit. I provide lots of training to people. I like to get stuck in with audits. I like to help people out with setups, whether it's GA4 or GTM or Looker Studio. I live in the Orkney Islands, so it took me 12 hours to get here yesterday. If anybody's going to Google the Orkney Islands, yes, there is a village called Twat. No, I do not live in the village called Twat. I live in a much nicer village called Prick. That's not true. And so that's one thing about me. The other thing about me is I have a puppy called Arwen. Who's a lovely little whippet. Probably couldn't endure the 12-hour journey, so she's back at home. Really excited for me to tell her how today went on. So why do I want to talk about this? So yes, I've been getting stuck into Google Tag Manager. I'm freelance now. And I think certainly since COVID, certainly since 2020, one of the recurring themes for myself, and I guess for a lot of other people, is burnout. Like we're doing, the task list is getting much longer, and the pay isn't getting any better. Certainly, I'm not doing this right, because that's certainly for me. The pay isn't getting any better in the task list is getting longer. And I want to be able to say to my dog, let's go out for a walk. So I want to find opportunities to do things, produce the same results, but do it a lot quicker. And so a lot of these tips will be focused on that. The other thing that made me think about this is I'm obsessed with this little cartoon here. Hopefully you can all see it. Essentially, these guys, they're Neanderthals, or they're people just wearing really fluffy jackets. They're trying to pull this car, and they've got these square wheels. They're not getting anywhere. And this guy's saying, hey, look at these tires here. And they're like, no thanks, we're too busy. I think about that all the time. And so I ask myself, a lot of everything I do, am I being the Neanderthals with the square wheels here? Can I not find a better way to do this? And so that's what brought me to think about these ways of using Google Tag Manager that might make the process a little bit easier, might make the management of it a lot more efficient, and just allow you to get stuff done quicker, to free you up to do more stuff, or free you up to close the laptop and take the dog for a walk. One of the two things, really. So that's where I'm coming from. So yeah, let's get stuck into some Google Tag Manager tips. My first tip is, some of these things you might already know these things, but I'm conscious we've got digital marketers here, we've got some execs, we've got some freelancers. So I wanted to start with a few things that you might already be aware of, and then we'll move on into other sections. So lookup tables. Lookup tables in Google Tag Manager are brilliant. You can add in an input variable, add in your input, and then select your output. Very similar. So for example, if I've got two websites here that I want to only use one Google Tag Manager for, I can use the host name as the input. I don't have orkneydigital.uk, I just made that up. And then add in my different Google Analytics tag there, which I can then use when I'm creating my GA4 tag. And there I only need one GA4 tag, one lookup table, rather than two different GTMs, two different configurations. So again, much more simple, much more easy to use. We can take it to the next level here as well with regex table. Regex stands for regular expression. That's about as far as my knowledge goes until I have to Google shit. So yeah, you can use regex tables. The example I've used here is for content grouping in GA4. I think content grouping in GA4 is vastly underutilized when we're analyzing different sets of pages. And again, I've used these the input patterns here to output certain different ways of stratifying content. And again, I've got a default value down there. So some use cases, I think, for lookup tables. I've mentioned it before, content grouping. You can match multiple IDs or classes for button clicks and to produce the same kind of result. You can capture dynamic values and URLs and send that to different tools. This one, so I work with a lot of hospitality groups, so hotels and the like, and they have really non-standard e-commerce setup. So instead of sending a purchase event through the data layer, they'll send something like booking complete, which obviously makes no relevance for Google Analytics 4. So I like to use a regex table or a lookup table to return standard GA4 e-commerce events when the input, the data layer event, is a non-standard implementation. And then I've used it as well for external link clicks. So for example, if you've got a link clicks at facebook.com, Twitter or x.com, you can return the value social media. If it's an external site, you could return the value external site, for example. Or if it's a click to your YouTube channel, you could return the value YouTube, for example. So really nice ways of using regex tables and lookup tables there. This one, some of you might already be aware, is constants. So I thought about this because I kept forgetting what my GA4 ID was or what my Facebook pixel ID is. But you can set a constant in Google Tag Manager. Some of you may have already known this. It took me far too long to figure this out. But you could set the constant, so a GA4 ID or a Facebook pixel ID or your LinkedIn Insight tag. Set it as a constant, so when you're going to recreate or add in a new event, for example, you can, rather than having to go back to Facebook to try and remember what your pixel ID is, it's already there for you. So you just have to put it in once and you're good to go. So here's my example of a GA4 constant. I've got my measurement ID there, and I can just use that constant rather than having to go back in and find wherever that GA4 ID is in Google Analytics 4, because it's a fucking nightmare. Where the hell is that damn thing? I'm really pleased I swore on video. My next tip is to utilize event settings. Really useful for Google Analytics 4. If you've got an e-commerce site and you're sending all these different events like add to cart and begin checkout and add payment info and all that kind of stuff, well, rather than recreating that every single time, create an event settings table. And so you just have to use that one again and again. You don't have to add in, make sure you've done it correctly, make sure it's all snake case and all that kind of stuff. You can just set it once and then reuse it again. So again, another time-saving tip there, I think. This one came about because I was really sick and tired of trying to debug where something is coming from. Like if you've got a Shopify instance, you're like, where the hell is this event coming from? Well, in GTM, if you add in environment name, container ID and container version as some variables in the event settings that you've already set up, when you send those events to GA4 or when you're debugging them in the network tab, for example, really good talk by Jonathan Moore last year about the network tab, recommend watching that. It will tell you what the container ID is. So if you're debugging something and it's got the container ID, you know which Google Tag Manager that's come from. So again, really nice tool or thing you can add in to help cut down on that faffing of trying to figure out where an event is coming from. So yeah, that's me adding them. I mean, I haven't even used e-commerce parameters there. I've just set those up and I add them to every single event. So that could be for a SaaS client, for example. It could be for a charity. But once you set that up and add that to every single GA4 event, you've got the tool there to kind of debug as you're going on. This one, how many times at the start of a month do you go and look at your Google Analytics 4, for example, and you're like, holy shit, it hasn't tracked for a whole month. What the hell am I going to tell my clients or client? How many, happens far too often for me. So you can add container notifications. So you can be told whenever somebody changes something in your Google Tag Manager. So if you have multiple agencies, one of which is incredibly worse than your agency, then you can say, actually, they've changed something. It's going to mess with all of the tracking. So let's go in and review it. So that's container notifications. If there's one thing you take away from this, go and set that up, because you have no idea how good it makes you look if you can tell your client that this other agency has messed something up, but we caught it really quickly, don't worry. Nice messages. I don't know about you guys, but I set something up in Google Tag Manager, and I'm like, go back to it a few months later, and I'm like, why did I set it up like this? Well, did you know you can add notes to any tag, trigger, or variable? Start using it. You've no idea how useful it will be if you can add context to something that you did 6 months ago, and you can come back and you're like, oh, that's why I did it. Or, for example, again, if you maybe got a non-standard e-commerce setup, you can add the data layer push event to the notes to be like, oh, that's why it looks like that. So yeah, add notes. So once you click show notes, you've got the option here to add notes. So I could provide context as to why I've got my consent set up like that, for example. All right, tip from Jonathan Moore, this was tag template. Don't use custom HTML if there is a tag template available. So much more easy for you to set up, so much more easy for you to maintain, and a lot easier to keep up to date with if there's any changes in how that certain tag works. For example, this one by Facebook Archive, I think it used to be owned by Seymour Harbour until whoever the hell Facebook Archive are bought it. That is a much nicer interface to use than adding a Facebook pixel via custom HTML. And again, does this laser work? Nope. You can set your constant there for your Facebook pixel ID, so you don't even have to remember what the pixel ID is because you've set it up as a constant. So yeah, tag templates. Okay, I'm going a little bit faster because I'm conscious of the time. Clean up. If you sort your triggers by the number of tags it's being used on, you can just remove any that say 0 because you're not using them. So you're cleaning up your Google Tag Manager. But there is a really cool tool that's available called GTM Tools, which is available on this website. It doesn't look like this anymore because they've changed how it looks. But essentially, when you go into set it up, go into workspace mode, it will tell you how many variables aren't being utilized, how many triggers aren't being utilized, and you can go in and delete them, click Update Workspace, and that will automatically delete them in your Google Tag Manager container. So a really nice, quick way if you're reviewing your Google Tag Manager and you want to make sure that you're just kind of cleaning up and decluttering your Google Tag Manager. Really nice tool. Okay, base container. This, I think, is the best version I can show you of this cartoon here. So what is a base container? A base container, for me anyway, I work with a lot of setups. I work with a lot of agencies who will come to me and say, hey, we've got a new client. Can you add in GTM and GA4? Well, I've created a base container, which has got everything I need in it. So I've added in, actually I have several, one for e-commerce, one for SaaS, that kind of thing. I've got everything I need in there. This one is for a hospitality client. It's got a purchase event. It's got the GA4 tag. But what I can do with that, because it's called a base container, I've got everything I need in it, but I can export that container. And so when a client comes to me and says, hey, we've got a new client. Are you able to add in GA4? Sorry, it's really urgent. Can you do it? I'll be like, oh, mate, it's going to take me ages. I can then just click import container, make sure I'm not like deleting everything or I'm just merging everything, and it's done. All I have to do, going back to the start of the chat, is change the constant variables that I've got. So all I have to do is go in and change the GA4 tag, the Facebook pixel ID. So rather than spending an hour or so, I'm spending 5 minutes, which saves up a lot of time. You can also do this, by the way, in GTM tools. It's a much nicer interface than export-import. And again, you can just clone a container. So I would suggest, if you're an agency, if you're working agency side, or if you're a freelancer that you get a few requests, spend the time now building out your base container with everything you think you might need, set those constants, and then when somebody asks you, you just have to import it or clone it, and then you're good to go. And then you got loads of free time, but then you just charge the same amount. It's brilliant. So rather than, sorry guys, a minimum an hour is what I charge, and that took me 5 minutes. They don't need to know. They earn loads of money. Charge them as much as you want, for God's sake. So yeah, base container is the best way, I think, of being able to show you how to move away from being a Neanderthal with square wheels to being the guy holding the tires. And that is a whistle-stop tour of everything. If you want to know more, there was a link to a blog on the next slide, but that's not there anymore. But I'll put it on my LinkedIn, which you can check out there. But thank you for listening.
Demand Sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.